Now it's on to take the ACC. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here for our Miami show, our longest running show here at the Voice of College Football. So now we're up to, at this point, Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas, Oregon, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson live shows, and maybe I'm leaving somebody out. I don't know. Oh, we added Indiana and Ole Miss last week, but this is the staple. This is the foundation. This is the longest running, thanks to this guy. Cam Underwood, State of the U. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. Hey, you got to start somewhere. So I guess, hey, we made some mistakes and learned along the way. It's great to see, all the other things happening, man. But I am glad to be here Wednesday night talking to Miami Hurricanes. And again, as the season continues, shaping up hopefully to be a very strong season. So, very, very excited about that. I'm glad to be with you guys.
We've made mistakes? This is the first I've heard of this. Is that happening?
Look, there were a couple times you had the helmet thing in the back, and then I had technical issues, you had technical issues. I mean, there's been some bumps along the way, but hey, it's been a mostly smooth ride,
Well, I got to say that there have been few mistakes on the field for this football team through 4 weeks, and you certainly didn't make a mistake when you said USF's going to hang around for a little bit, and then it's going to be off to the races. 50 on the board.
Yeah, another 50 burger. Team was clicking, man. Program record through 4 games, 209 points. So for 5-time national championship program, 6, but whatever. Scored the most points ever through 4 games in the history of this program. You know what I mean? Like and not really even playing our best football. Like, and I'm not saying that. Sometimes you say things like exaggeration for comedic effect. Like, I've done that my entire life. Like, oh my God, like I'm literally dying. No, you're literally not. That's, you know what I mean? But there's been so many things that have been growth areas that everybody can see, and the players and coaches are saying, even as we're stomping people out, 8 first half penalties last week. What? Jacoby George had a 40-yard play. If he holds onto the ball, all of a sudden and it goes to the USF defender, right? And then credit to them, they said, look, if we have a chance, if we think the opportunity presents itself, we're going with every single trick play that we have. They scored a touchdown on the Philly special. Really great job on Byron Brown as he was leaking out, stopping. Because if he would have just kind of run that route, first of all, the timing would not have been there, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey!" But no, he pitches it to the running back, going to the offense's left, and he just takes a beat and watches them like it's a normal play, and then you see it come back, and then he, after that one little beat of rest, going up the field, then right after that, trying an offensive or an onside kick, guy was 8 yards offsides, but I mean, hey, if you're going to try it, why not try it there? You know what I mean? But you give USF a short field, they score. You turn it over, you give all these penalties and things. Like, it took all of that and stopping them for field goal after field goal. P.S. Grammatica Jr. hit one from like 84 yards. Like, those 2 kicks it was like, what, 55 and 52? Easy, like, would have been good from 63, 65. I mean, and then they bring in another kicker, for the shorter field goals, but then he misses the extra point after the trick play touchdown. But it took all of that for it to be 15-14 USF. Like, I would say for the first 25 minutes, even with walking down the field both times and getting touchdowns, absent the Jacoby George mess up that technically counts as an interception because the ball was thrown and never hit the ground and he never had control of it. People were trying to lobby that they wanted that as a fumble for Jacoby George and not an interception on Cam Ward's record. Sure, whatever. But I see why it was classified as an interception. But it took all of that for them to be within striking distance. And then, like, hey, boom. And it's a credit to the preparation. This is what I've been saying. They play, USF that is, plays their cover too, and they try to disguise it as long as possible. But if you do that, you're keeping the safety inside, and he doesn't have a chance to get all the way out there. Right? And Cam knew it. And then said, and he threw that cover 2 hole shot, and I tweeted it out. My breath stopped because I've tried to throw cover 2 hole shots like that on college football 25, and I've thrown 85 million interceptions on that same throw because that cornerback, I call them super jumping linebackers. And if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where they just have these superhuman physical abilities against you. You know what I mean? Not when you're on the sticks, but the AI, the computer on the sticks. What, man? And so he threw that ball, and I've seen that interception so many times in the video game. And they're like, no, they're trying to disguise it. That cornerback stopped his feet for 1 step. 76 yards to the sideline, gone. That's the margin of error. And Cam stared it down because he's like, oh, yeah. And if you're talking about NFL throws, by the way, from the right hash to the left sideline in the cover 2 hole ripped it on a line. Woo, buddy. And then, all right, cool, we out of there. So it was a testament to just perseverance and preparation for the Miami Hurricanes. Ended up with a 5-touchdown victory. Shout out to Jordan Lyle, a program record 91-yard from scrimmage run for a touchdown, which eclipsed Duke Johnson and somebody from 1955 who both had scored from 90 yards out previously. So, I mean, as soon as in Mario, like there was paint peeling in the locker room from what we heard after the game. It was very much no more bullshit. Stop the penalties. Like, y'all are doing all this other stuff. Do what we need to do. Let the standard be the standard, and I guarantee you it'll be what it's going to be. We saw the cinematic highlights. Jason Taylor, defensive line coach, said, hey, third quarter shutout. What's up? Lance Guidry, the defensive coordinator, going viral in the world of coaching because he was asked about halftime adjustments. And he actually pushes back on the idea of adjustments and is just saying, basically, it comes down to your preparation and your experience. And he really spoke highly of his time coaching high school football because, as you and I know, in high school, you run what you're able to run. So if that's wing T, if that's power I, if that's spread, if that's pro style, and every week you're going to see something else because, like, if you're at a small school and you got 40 kids on the team, wing T. What was it from Remember the Titans? Veer option, 6 plays, give it Novocaine, give it time, and it's going to work, right? When I worked at Miramar and Geno Smith was there, buddy, 4 wide with we're calling up we're going trips here, we're going double stacks here, we're doing these other kind of things, we're checking to a rail, we're checking to this, you're doing all kinds of different things, and you might have to face those week one and then week 2, those disparate kind of things, and having those experiences, you rely on those kind of things. It's really interesting. It was a great question at the press conference, and his answer was really, really great. And he was like, yeah, look, you got to stop the issues that you see first. And if you do that, then the team will most likely go back to first of all, you need to stop what you see on film. But they're probably going to have something different, and you got to react to that. So the job of the defense coordinator is stop the issues that you see right now in front of your face because they're going to keep coming back to it out of halftime. And if you do that, then they'll go back to what you've seen on film and other stuff. I'm not doing the answer justice, but it was a really great sentiment and mentality, and just kind of, okay, this is where this comes from, and like his worldview of playing defense at this kind of a level. But yeah, come out, boom, third quarter shutout. When you bring in the rotation guys, some of the depth, the second teamers on both sides of the ball, they kept the standard, even to the point, like I said, Jordan Lyle, a program record 91-yard touchdown late in that game. And And yeah, you had a USF defensive back trying to play hero ball because Jordan Lyle did look inside, and that corner with outside contain said, "Oh, I'm gonna meet him in that gap inside. I'm gonna make a play." Where did he go, George? Where did he go? Up the sideline and ran away from the angle from a couple of defenders. So yeah, I mean it took a little bit while to get going, but again, when the standard is the standard and you meet that standard, I don't think that there's many teams in America that can play with us.
7 or 8
max. Yeah. I mean, again, if Miami handles their business, if they play to the standard, if you play the way that you should be playing, honestly, I know that people are going to see this as blasphemy and everything. This team is closer to an Alabama team than it is to a middle of the road ACC team. Josh Pate said this is a high level SEC team in the ACC, right? This is just a high level team. It really is. And when Alabama plays to Alabama standard or Georgia plays to Georgia standard, there's only a handful of teams that can play to that level. I believe Miami to be in that caliber of program or team for this year. Absolutely. I think it's only a handful of teams that can play on Miami's level, honestly. But now it's incumbent to do the work and continue to play to that standard and clean up the errors and issues that present themselves. The running game only averaged 3.1 yards per carry, absent that 91-yarder. I know that down close in the red zone, it was cool. We're just going to lean on him. Cam Ward famously, and he's done this in every game. I didn't catch it, but pointing and saying, we're running the ball right here in this gap at you, and you can't stop it, and did, right? For multiple times. Damian Martinez, 3 touchdowns, but only actually, I leave the stats up for this very reason. 3 touchdowns, 11 carries for 31 yards and 3 touchdowns for Damian Martinez. That's not a lot of open, between the 20s production in the run game. That needs to get better. Cam Ward, 24 for 34 for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and missed multiple throws. He had Chris Johnson Jr. open for a touchdown. If you run a 5 wide on NCAA or college football 25, there's a play that I love. I think it's Jesus, I forget the name of the play. I just know. But the widers or the running back goes wide to the right. You walk a linebacker out with him and he runs a go. There's no reason that shouldn't have been a touchdown because you walked out number 37 or whatever it is on Chris Johnson Jr., the fastest guy on our team. But you missed that one, right? You missed another couple of throws. And even with the production that we saw, Cam Ward can be better. The run game can be better. The discipline can be better. You had even Kiko Mawanoa with the 15-yard roughing or unnecessary roughness penalty for a late hit on Byron Brown on the sideline. And you're a captain for a reason. I'm not going to sit here and say you need to have your scholarship pulled or da-da-da. But you've played so many snaps and you've played to an all-conference level in 2 different conferences. I know that you know better than that. But on that one play, that didn't manifest itself. Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. And, I do think that there is room for growth with this team. But, yeah, I think there's only a handful of teams that at their best can compete with this Miami Hurricanes team this year. But we just need to continue to develop and continue to play to that standard. That is what is required of Miami to make that continue to be true week after week after week.
So there's a couple teams / programs that I trust because I've seen it over and over and over and over and over versus Texas. Let's take Texas, for example. They broke through last year. They go to the playoff. They beat some teams. They hung with some teams. Of course, they beat Alabama. And then they came within a throw of the end zone to go to the national championship game. But because it had not been proven there in a long time, and with those players, I needed to see it against somebody.
Yeah.
Teams like Georgia, Alabama, we see it this year with Ohio State. They got to be the last team on the planet that hasn't played anybody worth a damn. They've not played anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's played somebody at this point. If you want to put Florida and USF in that category, shoot, those are world beaters compared to Ohio State's schedule to date. But they will, of course. But I trust because it's what's happened every year. I trust them. Like if this was pick your team that's jumping out and doing something extraordinary early in the season, but we haven't seen it year after year to know that the talent's there and this is just what they do. With Miami, I would love to see it against, but of course, those kind of regular season matchups are extremely rare. Georgia, Clemson, but Clemson wasn't ready for that game. It's not Clemson of old. They're just very rare in terms of a non-conference kind of game. And because the ACC is the ACC, you don't have the Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia. You don't have those games within the conference that we're going to be blessed to see here in the next few weeks in those two conferences. Miami could be the outlier of being the one team outside of those two conferences that can play like those 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it that we have not seen this, not even consistently, but at all from Miami. So I understand the hesitance when I say, no, this is a team of that caliber, but they're playing to that level, even with things that can improve. But it's incumbent upon them to continue to do so. But, again, that's what good teams do. That's what teams who are chasing championships do. They go and beat a team down like that, And again, I know that it took Alabama to the fourth quarter. We were playing second string in the fourth quarter already. Cam Ward hung it up, So like it is, incumbent upon Miami to do that. But this is the kind of season that is, in front of us potentially. This is the kind of team that we have presently. Like, there is not a part of the team that is a major concern that would like keep you from a playoff or a potential championship. Like everybody is playing, they're developing before our eyes. You're still starting a true freshman, OJ Frederick at cornerback. He's been one of the highest rated true freshmen in America, across the board, throughout this, early part of the season. Michelle Powell, again, from Washington, played in that championship game last year. He knows the path. He walked it last year. Now, no, they did not win, but like, name another player on this roster who played in a national championship game last year. You can't do it, right? Cam Ward, I said all offseason that he was top 5, if not top 3, if not top 1 returning quarterback in college and playing to that level. Like this is what you needed to do, and going all in on this season, it was necessary because it's there. And look, is this one of the easier schedules for a potential playoff team? Yeah, it is. But you know what? It was for Georgia last year also, and we saw what happened. So it is potentially there for Miami, but they have to continue to bring it. And I understand people's skepticism for me saying that, because I get it. Once bitten, twice shy, or 20 years of, doing less with more as a program than pretty much anybody. I get it. But this team, it looks different because, again, scoring more points than we've ever scored through 4 games. It feels different, especially just from a focus to the process and the standard of performance and growth. And every game, Cam Ward afterwards, hey, like, look, you did da-da-da. It was video game numbers. It's, pinball numbers that you guys are putting up, yards and touchdowns. Da-da-da. He's like, yeah, but this throw, that throw, this throw, and that throw, I missed. That's the kind of mentality we have to have.
Here we go. Leroy, appreciate you being here. The super sticker. Thanks for the support. We appreciate you. Falconer, TRX.
There we go.
So Falconer not technically first tonight. However, Falconer was at the Florida State show and threw up a couple there. So he gets the pregame honors there.
Got it. Hey man, appreciate you gotta be quicker than that, man. Leroy got you this week.
Falconer, Cam was an amazing ambassador on the SOS podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Sons of Saturday. So that's a Virginia Tech podcast. Got connected to them through a good friend, Mike McDaniel from Sports Illustrated and the ACC basketball conference podcast. So one of his Virginia Tech brethren, two of them run that podcast and invited me on Monday night. And yeah, just went in there and, did my thing, talked about, the Hurricanes and the, last game and looking forward and everything. Didn't really get to ask them any questions to get any insight. But I mean, they're a Virginia Tech show, so they talk Virginia Tech all the time. Did learn two things in that show. Number one, Cam Ward and Kyron Drones are apparently cousins, the quarterbacks of each team. Did not know that. Asked about it on Tuesday after practice. Cam Ward gave the succinct answer, no, to the question on if he had spoken to his cousin this week about the game. And then Tyler Barron is the younger brother of Woody Barron, who apparently played up there, linebacker, defensive line, something like that. Did not know that either. But yeah, so you have another couple of connections on that. But yeah, shout out to those guys, man. They do a really great job. It was a really fun show to be on. Really, blessed and excited to have been on there. So you guys go check that out. It's up on YouTube and everything. Looks the exact same. I need to move this darn box that keeps breaking the algorithm for my screen blur. But you can see that on there. I'm wearing this exact same thing and everything. But Falcon, I appreciate you watching that and everything. Yeah, and go support those guys.
I made an obvious too late attempt to grab Mike McDaniel for the show tonight to talk some Hokies, but have not heard back from him. So that's obviously a failed attempt on my part, but wanted to get some Virginia Tech talk here. Falconer coming back with this one. Miami owned a Raymond James just like the Swamp.
Pretty much. And it would have been even more had, we played to the standard of excellence that we desire for, in those first 20, 25 minutes, all the way through consistently that we did for the final 35. But yeah, emptied that stadium out. And look, I get it. That was what they thought was their biggest moment and everything. I guess they're going to send those Beat Miami shirts to whatever third world country because, like, please. But hey, it was a great night for them. I understand why they were super hyped. You could feel the energy and you could feel the team feeding off of that and everything. And so that, even though it did not yield a positive result, and I love hearing from Alex Galesh after this week because, when I watch the videos of the pressers every week, then you get more of that coach's stuff in the algorithm. So I saw his Monday presser afterwards. He's like, man, I'm not looking for moral victories, and we're not talking about moral victories. And to get a program to where you want it to be, you have to have that mentality. So shout out to him and everything. I don't think that he's going to be at USF long. I really don't. I think that he's on a path to develop them in a couple of years and then cash in elsewhere, which, hey, good for him. But yeah, I think that he's I like his mentality. I like his focus and everything and understanding. Like, yeah, we went all out. You saw it going off fourth down, trick play here, onside kick there, like, and then, okay, look, it got a little away from us. We're going to punt the ball. We're going to play defense. We're not going to, because if they would have continued going for fourth downs, it would have been 70 burger or more, So he said, hey, look, we went for it when it was there. After that, we're just going to play normal football and see what it is. But yeah, that was an interesting thing. But hey, shout out to them. I'm sure that it was a great atmosphere and experience for everybody who was up there. Had a couple friends who went to that game and everything. But yeah, in the end, Miami's just too talented for that team this year.
Hopefully nobody was asking him about a moral victory. It's not like they lost by a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, no, they were asking because especially like, hey, you guys were up 15-14 and you were very competitive with the top 10 team and that's what the question was and the viewpoint and everything. And yeah, they were asking for moral victories. And I mean, again, if you look at it in the micro, you can say, look, for 47 minutes against Alabama and 25 minutes against Miami, we're toe-to-toe against two of the top 10 teams in the country. And they gave him that softball, and he said, no, get all the way out of here with that. Like, this is a true outcomes kind of situation. Did you win or did you didn't? And if you didn't, don't talk to me about it.
Our guy here, Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle, has an interesting hypothetical. Hey, guys, long time. I got to ask, would you trade running backs Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle for wide receivers Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Inniss from Ohio State?
They can keep Brandon Inniss. I'll go 2 for 1 just to get Jay Foe. Like, to be perfectly honest. And again, Brandon Inniss, 5-star recruit from there. That's not even part of you. Keep that. that other one. I don't know if it's pointed in the exact spot, but this is where it looks like on my screen. Hey,
Yeah.
man, look. Yeah, I mean, but like also no, because I mean, like, and so both of those guys were committed to Ohio State before ending up at Miami, being Fletcher and Lyle. I mean, yeah, because just Jeremiah Smith by himself is different. Like
Sure.
he's just like, I mean, he's the best wide receiver recruit from down here that we've seen in 25 years. Like he's a generational player. Like, you know, and I still know it to my bones. If Cam Ward would have just transferred to Miami instead of taking that 3-week, I'm going to the NFL shenanigan detour, that was right at early signing day, Jeremiah Smith would be a hurricane, and oh boy. But you know, hey, that's a different multiverse situation. I would see, if we're actually doing like a college football trade machine, I would see if I would go to Ohio State and whatever their roster need is, try to deal from a position of strength from Miami, for example. So I know that they have Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, and at running back. So that might not be it. It might be
offensive line.
Offensive line. Okay, so let me give.
That's Samson, about all that team needs.
Right, Samson Okunlola and an offensive line recruit to be named, or two, for, you know, well, and maybe even throw in a wide receiver, right? So let's go, and this is completely hypothetical, so I'm not trying to get any of these guys off the team. Don't you dare clip this and say that I said this. But, you know, no, not you. I'm saying the people watching, because I know that that's how it goes. But, you know, yeah, I would say like an Okunlola, Nye Carr, and a recruit to be named later for Jeremiah Smith. Something along those lines. And if they want to throw in Ennis or somebody else, oh, then I'll take that for sure. But like, I would look at a 2-for-1 or even 3-for-1 to get JFO personally. Me, but again, I'm very biased because like I'm very biased, and I was very bullish, you know, on Jeremiah Smith, as is reasonable when you see it, you know.
You have to be careful trading special talent for just bodies. But is Okunlola the best offensive lineman? Is he your best offensive lineman?
He was a 5-star in last year's class. He's still rotating second team, first team a little bit, but you're not getting Francis Mawanoa from me. No, like that's a firm non-starter. Like those were the 2 5-star tackles in that class. So no, you're not. That he's off the board.
We're talking about teams that are playing for championships. Like they're gunning for championships, not
right.
We need some help down the road.
So are we right now, but you're not getting my starting right tackle All-American. That's a firm and final. So, you know, if I could understand it by this point right here that Mark just brought up. He's like, whoa, hey, wait. A 5-star who's kind of rotational, but maybe another year away, plus a guy for a right now. We need 61. Thanks so much. I wish you well, because the answer is no. Period. Like, which is why, yeah, like I would look at a package of players, plural, you know, and then, hey, yeah, I mean, look, maybe we give, because Ryan Rodriguez is a starter on the offensive line. Now, he's probably a little bit, he's injured right now, but he was a rotational starter with Matthew McCoy. Me, myself, personally, I like Matthew McCoy in short-term and long-term better. So if you want to say, we'll give you Okunlola, who's a 5-star tackle prospect from, you know, the Maryland or Massachusetts, excuse me. So I'll give you a 5-star redshirt freshman. I give you our starting left guard and a player to be named. Like, I think that those kind of things hypothetically would be something. But then again, just as I'm so fiercely on Don't ask about 61. Do not ask about Mawanoa. The answer is no. I'm sure that Ohio State has that same stance about Jeremiah Smith. The answer is no.
So I'm going to send this in another direction to another team because, Leroy, we appreciate the hypothetical, but yeah, that just doesn't make sense for Ohio State. They got 2 All-American running backs, like,
Right.
and even
Right.
the third guy is,
Which
they don't need.
Right, which is why I switched it and said, hey, let's actually look at their roster and like maybe, something that would be enticing to them.
Ryan Williams, Bama, same type of. So let's say without going to, they got Justice Haynes at running back. They've got great running backs too, but let's just say it's the same thing. You obviously have to consider the structure of your running back room. If you give up those 2 guys, then you've got one back.
Well, I mean, honestly, we got 5 who can start and play in the ACC. We really do. You have Martinez, you have Fletcher, you have Allen, you have Lyle, and you have Chris Johnson. So, I mean, there is plenty of depth on this year's team. But yeah, you take 2 away and then you're at 3. If somebody gets injured, you're at 2 and then a walk-on. So, but again, I think that if I'm Alabama, the answer for the 17-year-old Ryan Williams is a firm and final absolutely not. But yeah, it would really be, okay, what does your roster need? What do we have? And then, maybe making a deal there. Hey, Elijah Alston's playing really, really well at defensive end. Do you need an edge as we get Ruben Bain back? Now Ruben Bain is not the guy, but and I know Elijah Alston's playing really well, but if I have Tyler Barron still and I have other guys behind them and everything, maybe be willing to part with somebody from the middle top of the roster at a position. It would be something like that. But I do understand where Leroy came from, especially with the connection of all of those players to South Florida and both Ohio State and Miami asking that. But yeah, I would look, really it becomes more, what do I think that other team can use that we have and would be willing to part with in order to get the player or players of the target?
Falconer coming back with this one. Miami can play is equal Bama and close to Georgia.
Again, I think that, this is one of the handful best teams in the country, and we haven't even played our best game. And I really look forward to seeing that sometime. Oh, that was that door. Sorry. Sometime in the near future. Because there have been plenty of areas to develop and improve. And the goal is to do that.
We've got Knox K94. Appreciate you being here. Hey, Cam, how about the BS kickoff time announced for the Cal game? Our players are usually 2 mojitos in by 10:30 p.
Yeah, that is going to be a challenging time next week. And, so in case you missed it, I did write about it on State of the U. The kickoff time for Miami at Cal in week 6 is 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. West Coast Pacific time. So 7:30 local time kick. Cal people aren't even really excited about that. Like, they would prefer like a 3:30 or 4 o'clock game. That really came down to television, plain and simple. The ACC only has one national East Coast prime time slot, and that went to Clemson, Florida State. And that is based upon the recent branding, and impact of those teams nationally, right? Florida State is not worthy of a 7:30, 8 o'clock, because it's either the ESPN or ABC game. That's not been decided, but it is that prime time kick slot. Florida State at present is not worthy of that slot, but the brand of Florida State and the brand of Clemson is. So apart from that, then you only have 2 options. You have a 9:30 local time or 9 a.m. local time, noon Eastern kick, right? So that you're not overlapping that window, or the late night window. And then you say, hey, from 7 p.m. until 1:30 in the morning on ABC, ESPN, that is that's the ACC on lock all night, ACC after dark type thing. So that's really what it came down to, because, and like I said, since Clemson and Florida State are the 7:30, 8 o'clock East Coast game. You're not going to have Miami at Cal being a 3:30, 4 o'clock local kick, because on the East Coast, that's prime time, and you only have the one slot for the ACC at that time. So, and that's why the Clemson Florida State game is listed as TBD still. The other one is Duke at Georgia Tech, which is on ACC Network, which technically is but it's not national television in that same kind of a way. So, yeah, it just really came down to the ACC saying, we're not going to double up on with Miami on top of Clemson. I mean, really, if you take it to this year, we're not going to schedule Miami on top of Clemson in the same television window. So the one option that we have, because as the ACC, we need that primetime ABC, ESPN slot. And okay, we've assigned that there. And I think that's more reasonable than like Miami at Cal, because it's not, I mean, Cal's a great school and everything, but it doesn't have the same kind of cachet and draw as, because even though Florida State's bad this year, Tim from Boise, Idaho, who doesn't really watch college football, Mike from Missoula, Montana. Oh, Clemson, Florida State, that's usually a good game. Click. You know what I mean? Those are the odds that you're trying to get. And so then you're left over with, Miami having a late West Coast kick. I think that's going to be a new and unique kind of challenge for the team. But, I think that you have the systems in place and everything. And we saw some of those different timing systems happening in last home game that had that 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour weather delay. And you just have to say, hey, we have our process. We're going to go through that process. I know that they're going to fly out to the West Coast. I believe it is on Thursday. So you have a day and a half. Thursday or Friday morning, one of the two, to get acclimated to the time and have your body kind of shift to that time clock. But hey, business trip, man, these are things that happen. And if you desire to be a professional down the line, you have to learn how to deal with it and handle it. And, I'm hopeful that they'll be able to. And look, Mario coached at Oregon. He understands how to run a game day scenario time-wise and prep-wise for a 10:30 p.m. East Coast kick. It's different when you live out there, but he's been through that same kind of a thing. So we're just gonna have to lean on that. And for those of us on the East Coast here who are gonna, I'm not going to that game or anything. It's gonna be like a 2 or 3 nap Saturday and everything. So that because it's different when like you're just, it's different when you're up and when you're out, or when you're like watching and you're working or blogging or something, like it's gonna, I'm definitely gonna take a couple naps through that day, but I'll be ready. The team will be ready. And I get the thought that it is a challenging time for the game. My friend, we just got to deal with it.
I'm up till like 4:30 in the morning, regardless, on a Saturday night of college football. So it doesn't really matter. I will say this, that we are seeing game times involving teams that we've never seen before, because this is the first national coast to coast in conference situation for both the Big Ten and now the ACC, with Cal and Stanford jumping on board. So we would see these games where if somebody chose to schedule a non-conference game against somebody in the Pac-12, they may, but usually those games had enough weight that it would be like a 3:30 or 7:30 Eastern kick. But if you look at that schedule, their only other option, because they're not going to make, regardless of how bad Wake is and whoever they're playing, they're not going to make them kick at 10:30 Eastern. That just never happens. They don't do that to the student athlete. So your only other alternative was Virginia Tech and Stanford playing on the West Coast. They made that an ACC network game. They would rather have Miami play on ESPN, because again, you got to consider that while that is late night in the East, they're kicking at 9:30 Central, 8:30 Mountain. The entire rest of the country is getting more of a primetime game, and they've got Miami playing on ESPN.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Virginia Tech, Stanford is next week, or in the future. Like they are. Oh yeah, no, Stanford is at Clemson this week.
Yes. So at Virginia Tech, Stanford. I was.
Oh yeah, no, next week, right? Yeah, same. I got it. My bad. I did think of Stanford, though, because they've had 2 East Coast games in a row. They were at Syracuse, and then they're – so, hey, man, we're just going to be nomads. We're just going to stay out east because, like, why? I don't even know. I haven't looked into it, but I would hope to the good Lord that they stayed on the East Coast for this week. And, hey, y'all just have to get the assignments from your professors or maybe take up temporary residence at whatever university. But, like, yeah, going Syracuse to the Bay, back out to Clemson to the when you're already over here for 2. Hopefully they built that into the logistics plan, but who knows?
Although the Syracuse game was on a Friday night. So it helps.
Yeah, and I mean, the Virginia Tech game this week is on a Friday night. Shout out to everybody who remembers that, to give Miami the extra day to travel out to the other coast as well. So that is a good point. Still, I would hope that they stayed on the East Coast, but that's just me.
So, of course, when we reviewed this season, all off season, this was a game that stood out as Miami's a better football team. We know that, but Virginia Tech was a chic pick of a lot of people to challenge in the ACC. They had a bit of a comeback season. I don't want to go too crazy about going 7-6, but they won a bowl game, and they've been so lousy for a few years that was a bit of a comeback year for Brent Pry. And because they brought back as much production as just about anybody in college football, Kyron Drones in particular at quarterback, a lot of hype surrounding Virginia Tech coming into this year, and the thought that, okay, this is one that Miami has to have on guard against Virginia Tech. But boom, right out of the gate, they lose as a 2-touchdown favorite at Vanderbilt. And then this past weekend, I checked in on this game. So what I did, and this is one of the reasons I stay up till 4:30 in the morning, is that after I shut down here at about 2 a.m. with our post-game show, I see about 28 different games that I think, man, I wish I would have at least seen a snippet of that. So I threw in the 20 or 25 minutes of Rutgers and Virginia Tech, and they had a number of opportunities to actually get blown out worse than the final score would indicate. It was 23-7, and Rutgers fumbled at the Virginia Tech 2 in that situation to go up 30-7. And they also inexplicably went for it on like 4th and goal at the 3. Again, they could have went up 30-7. So 2 touchdowns left on the board by Rutgers made it a game hanging in the balance late, but Rutgers converted a screen pass for like 68 yards to set up the game-winning field goal. Then their defensive end made a remarkable play to end Virginia Tech on a batted ball up in the air that he intercepted to end the game. So Virginia Tech goes down for a second time this season. Again, Drones at quarterback. Bayshul Tutin's a nice running back, gained about 125 yards against Rutgers. So to your earlier point about such challenges against the likes of, let's say, a Florida or a South Florida, Virginia Tech roughly in that same realm. You would have to lift them higher than a South Florida slightly, but a game that Miami's got to play like a C and Virginia Tech's got to play like an A for it to be competitive, seriously competitive.
Yeah, seriously competitive, like in the balance or something. Yeah. Rutgers was real close to blowing that game all the way open and everything. Shout out to Bayshul Tutin from Virginia Tech. He's a very solid running back. I think he'll be the best running back that Miami will have faced so far this year. But I think Byron Brown and Kyron Drones are pretty much the same player. If you account for them in the quarterback run game and leave them to their devices passing, they're not really that skilled. And Kyron Drones has quite honestly been pretty bad this year throwing the ball down the field. So, yeah, this is a team, that is going to come in here hyped up. They're going to play with a lot of pride. I know that they would love to ruin the season that Miami is fancying themselves to be building. This is a long-time opponent and rival from, the Big East to the ACC and things like that. This is something I brought up on the Sons of Saturday podcast. I thought it was asinine that Virginia Tech was not one of the second protected rivalry or one of the 3 when, prior to this next round of expansion, with Cal and Stanford. But To me, it was easily, it should have been, Florida State, Virginia Tech, and insert third team here. And I know that Louisville lobbied to have it be Louisville, Miami, but whatever. I do not like those people, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, look, honestly, the line opened. I saw Vegas Insider on theirs had the line opening at Miami like -8.5, and I was like, "What are y'all on? Like, excuse me." But yeah, like everybody had opened between like 16 and 17. It's up to around 19.5, pushing 20 now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that this is another minimum 3 touchdown win. As long as Miami does what they need to do, and I am confident that we're going to be able to do that. Rutgers' offensive line graded out incredibly high against Virginia Tech, and I quoted the tweet and I said that's why they won right there. Like Virginia Tech, they made like a couple plays on the defensive line, but like they got manhandled. And I'm like, I think that our offensive line is better than Rutgers's. And I think that they're both good. I'm not saying that Rutgers is a bad offensive line, but I think that ours is better, and I did watch Brent Pry's presser this week, and of course, the local media, we think that Virginia Tech has one of the best defensive lines in the country. And I'm like, by what metric are we talking about? One of the best 25, one of the best 50? Like, I think that Miami has one of the best, like, 5. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I get it and everything. But, yeah, as long as Miami does what they need to do, as long as we're not turning the ball over 3 and 4 times, and having another 12, 13, 17 penalty type of a game, this team is bigger, stronger, faster, and better. Like, this is where we are. And I know that it's just like, man, Cam, like, you're not sounding like your normal self. And like, like I pride myself on being pragmatic and everything, but this is me being pragmatic. This team is, if you look at it in every dimension, the thing I will say is Virginia Tech is well known for their secondary, their defensive backs. And that will be a challenge for the Miami passing game because they do have good players back there. They have a lot of good players back there. And I respect that. And I respect all of the opponents that we have. But I don't think that they're better than us. Their quarterback's not better. Could Bashil Tootin play here, the running back? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, already we have 5 great running backs on this roster, or 5 blue chippers in the running back room. I think Bashil Tootin fits that mold. So if you want to call it a push on a 1-to-1, sure. But when you go down to 2, 3, 4, 5, give me Miami. Our offensive line is better than theirs. Our defensive line is better than theirs. Our linebackers are at a minimum as good as theirs. I would say our secondary probably like a or a B+ to their A-. But look, coming into the year where it was incomplete or maybe trending towards, I was really concerned about the secondary coming into the year. I'm willing to take that. And then, on specials, like I trust our special teams, pretty much. So yeah, I think that this should be another game where Miami flexes on an opponent that at this point is simply just not as talented or productive as them, end up the game, with a nice win against, a game Virginia Tech Hokie team to get to 1-0 on the week and 1-0 in the ACC and then move forward towards the next week. But yeah, I think that, again, this should be a Miami win and cover at this point of the season. If I go back over here, Miami is 5th in the country covering the spread by an average of 16.5 points per game. Like, over the spread. Yeah. So another 5 touchdown type thing, is very much in the realm of possibilities. But yeah, I think that this is another Miami win and cover. 5 wins out of 5, 1 game away from bowl eligibility. And I know people are like, yeah, and am I going to write that piece when it happens? Absolutely, because we've been here and there have been years, plural, recently where I've not been able to write that piece. And I know that that is only a minor step along the path, but I am going to enjoy all of this season, every one of these wins, every step we take along this path, and memorialize and celebrate them as they happen.
I am checking out Miami recent results here against the spread. In the last 10 years, prior to 2024, Miami was 57-68 against the spread. I see they were 6-6 last year against the spread. I know that they had, so it must have been prior to 23. I think it was mostly 2022 where they really had a run, a pretty embarrassing run against the spread, where we've got 25-point favorite against Middle Tennessee, lost by 14.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're minus 40 from the spread in the game. Yeah, that, and then it continued that season. But yeah, that was the one that tanked it, and it went down from there. But 4 for 4 with covers, on the spread, and then exceeding the spread by by 3 scores a game. That's where we are.
9-point favorite against Duke 2 weeks later, lost by 24.
That's like I said, the Middle Tennessee started it, but then that Duke game where we got bombed, and there are many instances you can point to, which is why I wanted to just raise that as well. But Miami is finding the explosivity. I'm so glad I don't have to write that piece this year where I was like, bro, where have the explosive plays gone? Cam Ward is like right here, bro. And actually, interesting, another stat. Where is it? 13.5% of Miami's offensive snaps are going for 20 yards or more. That's 1 out of every 6.5 plays being 20 yards or more. Like, what are we talking about? Like, so I'm glad I don't have to write that this year. It's going really well.
We appreciate more contributions coming in. Paolo, 2024 has been the scheduling for Miami in years. Can you help me out on that one?
Maybe include best in between the best or easiest or whatever, most desirable. Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. And hey, sometimes these things break this way. Like, we've had very challenging seasons, in the past. We've had Clemson and Florida State at the peak of their powers both, when we were anything but that in the regular season and, the non-conference and things like that. And, hey, this is but this is what we were talking about all off season. Tailor-made for a playoff run is this schedule. Like, absolutely bespoke to this team, like fitted, suited, and booted. Like, this is the best schedule, easiest, most advantageous towards success, whatever you want to call it. But especially considering the team that we have and the players that we have, led by, the Heisman Trophy frontrunner on all of the betting sites at this time, Cam Ward. It really is. And so, again, this is an opportunity that presents itself, and we have to take advantage of it.
Our buddy Falconer letting us know that George has predicted Florida State over Florida and Florida State over Miami.
I would agree with the former, but not the latter.
Falconer, Miami should go undefeated. Please focus.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, look, you had to one game at a time, one play at a time. And lineman assignment technique, you had to be focused on this moment, because this moment right now is the most important moment. When I talk choir, I always said that. I said, it's not your favorite song or this one moment or whatever, but like the note that you're singing right now is the most important note, right? And you have to live in that kind of a moment. It's the same thing in football. So, now if I'm taking the long-term view of this season, get through Friday, get through next week, late night, Canes after dark, bye week, and then the game of the regular season on the road at Louisville. Like, that's the one. And everything being equal, or if Miami performs to the way that we're seeing, that's the one game really between right now and an undefeated regular season. Like, I don't think that anybody else is even close to Miami's level after Louisville, and I do think that they're a game team, like Brian Brohm does a good job with them. There's so many South Florida guys. There's so many former Miami dudes on that roster. When they needed to get the running game going last week, who did they lean on? Number 21, Donald Cheney Jr. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that. And, I have no love lost for them. I don't know why. They just get under my skin. I swear, but behind Florida State and Florida, they are the team that I hate the most because they talk shit and I fucking hate it. And they come down here and they recruit a lot. You know, they don't necessarily get the best guys, but Ja'Cory Brooks is there now as a transfer from Alabama, from, you know, Booker T and everything. But, and like for years, especially because they beat us with Teddy Bridgewater in that bowl game and left him out there until the end. And it's in Orlando and he comes off like fucking Spartacus. And like, we're just sitting in the whole Louisville sideline and Camping World Stadium, you know, showering him with praise. I can't fucking stand them, but I will respect it. And that is the game we have to get through. But that's not this week's game. But absent that, you know, and I think getting through that test, and we've gone up there and blown their brains out multiple times. And I know they're going to go back and say, well, you remember in 2007 when you guys stomped on the Cardinal head and then Mario Rudia scored and he stiffed arm a guy from 52 yards out and we beat you by da-da-da-da-da. Yep, sure do. Do you remember in, what was that, 2004 Devin Hester punt return on Thursday night with when Brian Brom was a freshman playing with Stephon LaFours? I think it was 03. You remember that? Oh, well, you got to bring up old stuff. Why y'all got to bring up old stuff? Sorry. You can tell I'm getting go. I don't like those people in Louisville. I don't. But I say all that to say, as we sit here and look at the schedule, that is the game that will be the determining factor between 11-1 and 12-0 in the regular season if Miami continues to do what they need to do. But in terms of this season, and look, I'm a blogger, I'm a pundit, I'm a graduate, I'm a fan. So I can say these things. This team, I know, are focused on Virginia Tech, play for 60 minutes, deserve and earn victory, and move forward. But I do agree, Falconer should go undefeated, but that game at Louisville will be the determining factor in my eyes.
Louisville at Notre Dame Saturday. That should be an interesting one. And let's table this one. We got to run, but Paolo, we want to certainly honor your super chat here. Yeah, this one we can simmer on for a future show, comparing the current position units to the next best or the last best comparison of a position unit.
Well, you know, give me 1 second. I like analog, so I have my handy dandy notepad here. So this is Pablo rank units.
While Cam's looking at that, we also had a super chat from months and months and months and months ago that we tabled. I'm going to have to go back and look at that because it came in on Facebook and we promised for a answer, but it required some homework as well. So I got to go back and find that. So we apologize to whomever that was. I'm sorry, I can't recollect who that was.
I have it here. It's still, because I take notes and I did not forget about it. It was ranking the rosters and staff entirely from Mark Richt's team in 18, Manny's 21, and then this year's. Okay. So the most three recent best iterations of Miami. We're going to say, and I have left this here on my, I didn't have to look for it. It's on top of this stuff right here. So as I pulled that up, I don't know if you can see, there it goes, right? It's on the screen. So we're going to table that to the bye week, but I have it here and I've left it on top of my stuff specifically because I did not want to forget about it and everything. So I know Mark brought it up. It's literally been here. I couldn't have written that note that quickly, guys. It's been here. Trust me. So we hear you. We appreciate the super chats and everything. So for Pablo's and from this one from Facebook, we will get back to it. Pablo, I don't know if I'm going to get to this one next week or in the bye week as well, but we will definitely in the next couple of weeks get to both of those pending conversations and things to be sure that, we're answering the questions and interacting with you guys at the level, that you're interacting with us. I really appreciate it and everything. So yeah, to that person from Facebook, we did not forget. I promise you I did not. I keep looking at that and say every week saying, damn, we haven't gotten to that. Damn, we haven't gotten to that. The plan is we will get to that during the bye week. And so if you, like Pablo, or if you, like our friend on Facebook, have any kind of those larger topics, those maybe a little bit of research goes into it kind of things that you would like us to maybe discuss during the bye week, hey, at Underwood Sports, I know Mark Rogers, Voice of College Football on, on the Magic Twitter machine and everything. Stateoftheu.com is where you can find me. My email address is in my Underwood Sports bio on Twitter, at the State of the U on all your socials as well. So there's plenty of ways that you can get those to us and everything, but we do have at least 2 for the bye week, and I just wanted to write those down. So I am very studious and fastidious about these kind of details, so I just did want to bring that up, and I appreciate that. We will circle back.
Well done, Cam. You're a better man than me. I had to it just popped into my head.
And, you know, look, I know me, and I know that I work off of paper. Sometimes I know that I need to have these things written so that I don't forget them. So yeah, we have those 2, and I'll say exactly. No, hey, I got my calendar, my analog calendar over here. I got other notebooks at my workstation here and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, did not forget about that. I appreciate it. But also, you know, to you guys watching and commenting and asking these questions, it's great conversation. I can't wait to dive into those things.
We've got to run. Is there anything on State of the U that you need?
There's lots of things at stateoftheu.com. So I'm just going to say, go on over and fan with us. You know the address, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. Personal Twitter's at Underwood Sports. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Cam, thanks for making it happen. As always, we'll see everybody back here next week.